I had a revenge nookie with the fiance of my ex-boyfriend's mistress and I just found out that I am pregnant with his child. Plus update after 2 years. My ex and I met when I was 20 but were only friends until we started dating 2.5 years ago. I found out last year that my ex had been cheating on me for basically our whole relationship with a girl he met through a mutual friend. I broke things off after I found out and told the girl's fiance about their affair. He ended up breaking off their engagement after he found out and she seemed nonchalant about it until she realized that my ex's money wasn't actually his. My grandma left me a lot after she passed back in 2019 and my ex had been flaunting around the things I'd gifted him throughout our relationship to her, even going as far as to claim that the house and antique car my grandpa left for me and his will were my ex's. It's not something I'm proud of now that I think back to it, but I did allow my ex to walk all over me for the first month or two after I broke things off because I missed him so much. I gave him money and tried to make things work but would always get reprimanded by my parents and friends when I'd run to them crying after he ghosted me for her. I didn't officially give him up until the girl's ex-fiancé messaged me and told me that she was rubbing it in some of their old friends' faces about how pathetic I was and how desperate I was for my ex who didn't even give an F about me. I was really upset and asked him if he'd be willing to meet up with me because I knew that if I talked to my parents or friends about this, then they'd just lecture me even more. He agreed and the two of us met up at a random food cart place. We ended up spending most of the day just exploring and talking about how we were doing. He'd also confided in me about his relationship with his ex. They'd known each other for 10 years and they'd liked each other for most of the time they were friends, but he wasn't looking for a relationship because he was focusing on school. He had decided to give them a chance after she'd driven 12+ hours overnight to him because they talked on the phone and he said he was feeling under the weather and was stressed from how vigorous his residency schedule was. She dropped everything to take care of him, help clean his place, and make him some home-cooked meals after finding out that he was surviving off of vending machine snacks and instant coffee. He told me in detail about how he'd never felt so loved and cared for, how after she'd done that for him, he decided that she was the one, that if this wasn't love, then love wasn't real. Finding out that she was cheating for the last 2 years made everything click into place. She'd been pushing off getting married, telling all her friends that she was having doubts about him. He'd been trying to convince her to go to couples counseling when I broke the news to him that she was sleeping with my ex. I felt like a monster, hearing their love story and then realizing that they didn't get their happy ending because of my ex and I messed with my head. We continued to talk from time to time, checking in on each other and meeting up for a quick bite every now and then. We lost contact after the girl my ex cheated on me with somehow convinced him to take her back. I became slightly depressed after he cut me off, explaining to me that he was still in love with her and wanted to work things out, which meant a clean slate. I found out through some internet snooping that my ex cheated on her too, which was why she went back to her ex-fiancé. A few months passed and things went back to semi-normal. I started getting therapy and was about ready to put myself back out there to try out the dating pool again when around New Year's I got a call from the guy. He was crying and asking if I was available to talk. I, of course, said yes and out of concern met up with him at his place. He broke down to me and told me about how he'd found her and my ex in his mom's guest bedroom during Christmas when she'd snuck him in for a quickie during his family's busy holiday party. All hell broke loose when he'd found them in the guest bedroom after spending 20 minutes looking for her everywhere. We drank a bit and ended up having intimacy. He apologized and told me that it was a mistake and he wasn't in his right mind, that he just wanted revenge intimacy but it didn't make him feel any better after. I tried to message him platonically a few times after to see if he was alright but he blocked me, so I dropped it and went on with my therapy and life. I went in last week to check with my doctor since I'd been getting bad cramps and to get a new prescription refill for my birth control that I use to help with my PCOS. I had to do a usual test to double check for the possibility if I was pregnant and was very surprised when it came back positive. I have been sitting on this new knowledge and have been contemplating on if I should tell him, not tell him, or if I should even keep the pregnancy. My doctor did inform me that since I am still in the earlier stages I am still at a big risk of having a miscarriage, so I don't know if I should even be worrying at all about all of this since there is a chance that I could lose it. And then it just seemed like I was trying to grab at his attention or something, especially after he'd made it clear to me that he wasn't comfortable talking to me anymore after we slept together. I haven't told anyone and have been going crazy because I don't know what to do. Update: I know a lot of people were against this, but I went through with the pregnancy and I am forever thankful for my beautiful baby. I had originally planned to get in baby garbage, but I found myself unable to go through with the appointment. My parents were very upset with me and my whole family disowned me. I listened to what some of you said about letting the father know. We'll be referring to him as D. After many failed attempts to reach out to him I decided to go in person. D was not happy when I showed up at his place but when I told him why, he agreed to talk with me. D let me know that he'd officially ended things with his ex and wanted to go no contact with me because I was another tie to his past with her, but he was willing to try and figure out a co-parenting plan with me if I agreed to a paternity test first. I of course felt a bit bad about the paternity test part but agreed to it since we both had only been acquaintances that bonded over our trauma. Everything was honestly easy cruising until I started to spot around the 26-week mark. My OB-GYN explained that while spotting is normal while pregnant, mine was heavier and my blood sugar/blood pressure also both worried them because of gestational diabetes and preeclampsia risk. After a few nights of D insisting on sleeping on my couch, I had him help me move some of my things to his place since he lived closer to the hospital. I am very thankful I decided to semi-move in with him when I did BC. I went into premature labor at 32 weeks. I am very thankful to have had D and his family as my support system. His mom would come and switch out with him at the hospital and advocate for me whenever I felt washed out or unheard. She helped me both emotionally and physically and stood by me. Dee's mom also helped me work through my emotions when all I wanted was my mom. Dee's mom was an absolute godsend also because she's a retired nurse. She started in OB, went to NICU, and eventually later settled into lactation before retiring, and explained things to me when we found out that my baby had respiratory problems and had SUA, single umbilical artery, and that it could have been a factor into why I went into premature labor. She stayed with Dee and me so she could help me with pumping since I wasn't able to produce milk and encouraged me when I felt like such a failure for not being able to take care of my son when he needed me most. She drove me to and from the hospital while my son was in the NICU because I was healing and so mentally/physically exhausted. I really and truly believe that I didn't fall into deep postpartum depression because she held me and helped me with each step and was always so patient with me, even when I wasn't with myself. Dee's mom would constantly remind me that nothing was our fault and no one did anything wrong. It's just that everyone is faced with hardships in life and this was one we'd work together to get through. My son graduated from the NICU and came home a month after I did. Dee's mom visited us often and helped with him since Dee and I are first-time parents. Dee's dad joked that he felt like she and I had the baby together and he and Dee were both just background characters that make guest star appearances every now and then since Dee was working so much to build more PTO and his mom wouldn't bring his dad along when she'd come visit since she didn't want him to disturb me and the baby with his loudness. Dee's siblings and family members posted a lot about our son because he was the first grandchild and first baby in a long time. Somehow someone must have shared a photo or something, but pictures of us reached my family and my parents demanded I let them meet my son. Dee was supportive of whatever I chose to do and said he'd agree to them meeting him if that's what I wanted. After thinking about it for a few days I decided that I wanted to talk to my parents before I let them meet my son. When we met up to talk, my parents were offended that I didn't bring my son with us and left him with Dee's parents. They said some really hurtful things and then my dad started to question on when Dee was going to ask him for permission for us to get married since we didn't already have a shotgun wedding while I was pregnant. I was okay with them insulting me since I'd grown up with it and was used to it, but once my parents put their target on Dee and his family I became upset and decided it was time for us to leave. My parents did try to petition for legal visitation rights but were denied because my son is still very young and because both Dee and I are very much on good terms and are living in the same household, and they couldn't find or prove that there was any danger to our son's well-being. My family did try to reach out to us and claim that we were horrible people for denying my parents their grandchild, but no one ever seemed to be able to make a peep when Dee's family would defend us and point out that my family had been the one to disown me and that no one cared to see if I was okay until after I had the baby and everything was handled. Dee's mom and my mom got in a verbal altercation after my mom had made false reports to CPS and called the police to do multiple welfare checks on us. My mom was given a warning by the police for harassing us after one specific incident where she threw a tantrum and caused a scene when the police found nothing wrong in the welfare check and refused to listen to her demands to have my son temporarily taken away from us and put in her custody for his safety. Dee and I currently have restraining orders pending against my parents and certain family members. One of the reasons I decided to update is because about 2 months ago a friend of Dee's asked him out to have some drinks and they ran into his ex-fiance who later messaged him to tell him that she regretted the way they ended and how she was very hurt when she heard that we had a baby together, especially with it being so soon after their relationship. Dee wouldn't talk to me about how he felt, and when I asked him he just brushed me off or switched the conversation onto a topic about our son that he knew would distract me. I noticed Dee pulling away from me and how our relationship became a bit awkward and strained after their run-in and her message because I know he still has feelings for her and I am afraid that he might feel trapped with me and our son. I also noticed that the drama with my family has made Dee and his family less patient with me and my son. During Mother's Day I overheard a few of his family members make comments to Dee about me being at their family barbecue since I was just my son's mom and not really part of the family. Dee just shrugged and said I didn't have anyone else to spend the day with. With how tense things have been, I have been thinking about moving out and back into my place. I stayed with Dee at his place after I gave birth, but now that our son is slightly older and I am healed, I want to give Dee back some space so that he can start dating again if he wants to and to give him back some more bachelor time when I have our son. I want to find a way to approach me moving out and us making a co-parenting plan without making things more awkward or possibly ruining the relationship I have with Dee and his parents. I don't want them to feel like I'm not grateful or anything, but I do want to go back to work and get my life back on track so that I can provide my portion of needs for my son and not want to depend on his family for more than appropriate.